What's up, guys? Welcome in. This is another episode of the Train to Win podcast. I am your host, Blake Bernard, and today I've got a good one. It's a timely one for you guys. We're going to talk about all things in-season training so that you, the listener, whether you're an athlete, a parent, a coach, can avoid the pitfalls, the common ones that I see all the time that keep athletes from playing their absolute freaking best when it matters most, okay? But before we get into that, we got to shout out our sponsor, Covenant Coffee. They're hoping a cup, guys. Randy at Covenant Coffee offers amazing opportunities to foster youth, to get them, well, when they're coming out of the system at 18 years old, as young adults, maybe not having the backing financially from parents or, a job given to them on a silver spoon. He gives them opportunities to become professionals in the workplace and start building their resumes and get back on their feet. This is actually a really timely one for me because actually my wife and I just brought a 9-month-old foster baby into our home that we are very proud of, and we love her to death. But what Randy's doing at Covenant Coffee, it hits home. If you've got a heart for kids, you know that they need opportunities that maybe we weren't blessed with, and not everyone was born into this earth equally, right? So support Covenant Coffee. All right, so here's the deal, guys. This morning, the objective is to equip you guys at home with everything you need to play your best in playoffs or in the late stages of season. Too often, I see kids, coaches, and parents mishandle their training, mishandle their practices, and mishandle their preparation. Everybody wants to win, but if you haven't done what it takes in, the first 6 weeks of season to set yourself up for the best second half of season that you can, you are preparing to fail. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to address the top 3 things I see getting screwed up. We're going to address the top 3 things that you can do to fix it. And you're going to walk away with this thing better equipped to see your son, daughter, or maybe yourself, your athletes perform their best and hopefully see the fruits of all their labor. Okay, so let's get into it. The biggest 3 things. Number 1, the biggest thing that I see getting jacked up is relying on practice to maintain speed or vertical jumping qualities. Let me explain this one for a second. Maintaining speed and velocity in a vertical jump or a broad jump is going to be really difficult if you're never experiencing top speed or max jumping in practice. Let's talk about what that means. If you're a setter, okay, and you're not jumping maximally every day at practice, you cannot depend on practice to maintain your top jumping capabilities. If you are a front 7 player in football, a lineman, a middle linebacker, a defensive end, and you've worked all off season to get as fast as you can, but you never run more than 10 yards in a practice, you cannot rely on practice to meet that need. Why? Because the body only adapts to the stressors placed on it, okay? If it never sees the test, how would it know the answers to it, right? So ultimately, if you play a sport that never exceeds, and again, you have to understand that the average play length is about 4 seconds. It takes a lot of our athletes longer than 4 seconds to even reach top speed, right? We have to understand that the demands have to match the qualities you want to see maintained. So check this out. If the average distance ran by a football player in a game is less than 10 yards, think about your offensive lineman. How often does he get 10 yards upfield, right? How can you expect him to be good at running 30? And again, if a play goes longer than 30 yards, something either went really well for your team or really bad for your team, okay? So it's really important to understand that if your body doesn't experience that stress, it won't maintain the adaptation. So my kids train year-round. They train 9 months straight to be the freakiest, fastest, jump the highest in town, right? But then they leave to go in season, and they never see that at practice. In fact, they see the opposite. The opposite of top speed is mindless, slow conditioning. Gassers that you're running at 30% speed, right? Practices that are walkthroughs. You're never really going full speed. They might hit full speed, and we're talking, again, 25 yards plus. If you're a skill position player, there are only so many of those see in the field every day. If you're a volleyball player, that might be if you're a starter, Okay. That might be if you get the perfect set, if you're not jumping maximally when you do a jump spike, right? We're talking about fall sports here, but I hope you're seeing the picture. You might be working hard, but that doesn't mean you're running at top flight. It doesn't mean that you're actually hitting 100% maximal broad jump, a maximal vertical jump, a maximal top speed threshold, 30 yards plus sprint. How often does that actually happen? You can't call a gas or a sprint. Was your effort high? Sure. But were you actually racing somebody and spending it? No, because you have 10 more to run, right? So let's call it what it is. If you want to maintain your speed in week 10, you have to experience that in season. That's why in-season training is so important. You can't expect to do it on the field, okay? So number 2, before we get into number 2, I got to show you guys a graph. Darius, will you throw up the adaptation rate, or yes, the residual rate chart? It's going to be kind of hard to see for my people at home, but it's important to know, and I'm going to pull this up on my phone. I promise I'm not texting my boo thing. Here we go. Boo thing's at home with 3 littles with ear infections, so she can't text me back anyways. At the very bottom, it says maximal speed. How long does it take to start detraining? 3 to 5 days. No, those aren't business days. Okay. So if you don't hit max speed, you're not doing any sprints, all out, 100% intensity for more than for 3 to 5 days, you will start going backwards. You cannot expect to maintain it. All right. Think about that. That's less than a calendar week. So guys, we've got to hit those in season. Maximal strength. We all know that's important. My gym's full of kids who know the importance of strength, how it translates to endurance, how it translates to explosive jumping ability, their speed on the field, as well as being more resilient. Well, max strength only lasts 30 days, give or take about 5 days. So the issue with this is that after 30 days, if you're doing a bodybuilder workout with your team, and again, it's not their fault. These guys get hired to be football coaches, not strength and conditioning professionals. It's not their fault, okay? But let's face it, if you're not actually hitting max strength qualities in the weight room or max speed qualities on the track or something like that, you cannot expect your strength to stay at its maximum, right? So here's the biggest issue with this. We really want to make sure that, we got technical difficulties. Thank you, Haas. That's why Darius is the best in the game, guys. Thank you. So as we're doing this, we want to make sure that we're hitting those thresholds to see the adaptation we want. The body doesn't change if you don't force it to change. It's resilient to that. That's why if you sit on the couch all year, you're going to look like someone who sat on the couch all year. If you train for max speed and max strength all year, you're going to look like someone who trained that way. You're going to perform like someone who trained that way. And if you don't use it, you lose it. It's very important that you understand this chart up here so that you know exactly how much wiggle room there is before things begin to detrain. Okay. That's one of my favorites. Okay. We can go deeper in this. It might be a topic for a future training. I've got an in-season, little shameless plug here. I've got an in-season training essentials seminar coming up mid-August. You guys definitely need to be there if you want to know more about this. Okay. All right. So here's the deal. Problem number 1, you rely on practice too much to make you freaky. All right. Let's face it. Practice ain't going to do it. All right. Number 2, switching to high volume bodybuilding in season. Let's address why this happens first. Number 1, again, your average football or volleyball coach, if volleyball even finds time to get in the weight room, in California, it's dominated by football, right? But if you're a volleyball or football coach looking to get your team in the best shape possible, but you're just doing HIIT workouts and bodybuilding in season because you don't want them doing anything heavy, you probably need to hire someone that knows what they're doing. Okay. And the reason is, again, it's not their fault. It's not their expertise. It's not what they went to school for. Those are not the trainings they go to in the off season. So let's just understand everyone's got limitations. I'm not a football coach anymore because that's not what I wanted to do. Right. But we also have to put our athletes in the best situation to be successful. Okay. So here's the deal. If we say that, hey, I'm afraid of getting my kids hurt, we have to understand first, we have to have a baseline knowledge of physiology, basic physiology. Okay. And really what I just told you guys about stressors is all you got to know. So if you want them to stay strong, supple, and resilient and not get injured in season, You got to train to be strong. Now, there's a caveat here. That doesn't mean mindless. I'm not talking about 5x5, 4 days a week, or training every day, super heavy balls to the walls, training like a power lifter. That is not what I'm advocating for. What I'm saying is that a professional knows how to properly manipulate the variables at play. Hey, how much playing time is this guy getting? How wasted is he going to be? We got to make the main thing the main thing. I want him to be a top flight wide receiver, not a bodybuilder or a power lifter, right? Whatever the case may be. And probably the biggest thing I think about in season is what's the minimum effective dose that I could provide this student athlete to give them the response or the capability, the quality that I want to see on the field. Okay. So it's more is not better, guys. Better is better. Okay. More is not better. Better is better. We want to intelligently program max strength, max speed work in a way that, hey, I want to do the least amount possible that keeps them feeling their freshest and playing their best. A good coach knows how to do that. But if I go into any high school in Bakersfield right now, 9 out of 10 of them are going to be doing generic bodybuilding stuff that was probably done in the 60s, right? And I mean, let's face it, in-season volume is the enemy. So bodybuilding is very high volume, right? What do you think is going to make your athlete feel more trashed? Intensity or volume? If you have a basic, again, understanding of physiology, you would know that volume is the killer of athletes. It kills speed. It tears up their body. It tears up their muscles. It affects them at a psychological level that beats them down, right? Doing sets of 10 is a lot different than doing a set of 1. You know what I mean? So if we want to be efficient, okay, and we want to hit the minimum effective dose, I like those low rep sets. I want to maintain horsepower, not tear up their muscles. Okay, these guys got to play well on Friday nights. My girls got to play well on Tuesday and Thursday nights. I want to do whatever's going to get them feeling the freshest. So believe it or not, those heavier but very low volume approaches work a lot better. Okay. And they make sure that your son or daughter is playing out of their mind in the playoffs and feel fresh while the rest of their buddies doing bodybuilding workouts are breaking down, feeling like trash. Guys, hey, you came here to learn. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Okay. All right. So that's number 2. To recap, first 2 biggest things I see go wrong: relying on practice too much to maintain speed. Number 2, switching to high rep bodybuilding workouts, just going to booger you up more than it's going to do anything. Number 3, this one happens at home, parents. So, hey, the onus is back on you. They got to eat right. Okay. And I don't know if you guys have seen this. Dang it, Darius, I should have pulled up this clip. I've been seeing these TikTok videos of like these girls going to volleyball tournaments. Coach Dahl. Oh yeah. One of the reasons I love the conjugate method. Atta baby. Hey, love the interaction. Guys, if you have questions, plug them in, by the way. Hey, I've number 3 is a big one, and this one hits home for me. It's irresponsible to allow your student athlete to eat ice cream and bonbons in season and let that be 50% of their diet, even if that's what's convenient. Okay, I'm going to ruffle some feathers here, but again, that's what people pay me to do, right? Here's the deal. If your son or daughter looks like one of those kids, I've seen the TikTok videos of the volleyball. They got a team on a bus going to their Saturday tournament, and they have like a potluck. Have you guys seen this? They have like a potluck. Darius, if you can try to find this, man, it's amazing. They bring a duffel bag on the bus. They have a potluck for candy. Okay, all these kids are pouring in these big family-sized bags of candy into this duffel bag. They mix it all up, and I'm telling you, if this is like bigger than anything I've seen on Halloween. This bag's got to weigh like 30 pounds by the end of it, okay? For only 10 kids. And they eat this crap all going to their tournament that they were promised, if they play well, they're going to have scouts there, all this stuff. Someone's setting them up for success. If you're, failure. If you're a parent sending your kid off with a bag of candy for the team potluck on the day of a big game, you're throwing money down the toilet. Someone needs to collect your club dues. Someone needs to tell you not to waste your time. Okay. I've seen these same videos in classrooms. I've seen the same videos in high school locker rooms. Guys, we're wrong here. We're wrong. Brandon, when am I going to make a workout app? Dude, it's coming. But hey, I got to build trust first. And here's the deal. We've got to be responsible for the kids in our home, fueling them up for the things that we tell them are most important. If you're a competitive family that wants them to look and play their best, you can't overlook the kitchen. Okay? You cannot overlook it. So number one, what they fuel themselves with is going to make a big deal. That's food quality. Put down the candy. Go pick up some real unprocessed foods. I mean, just think back to what the Atomic family ate in the 50s, right? If you, those black and white, you know, you got the homemakers, you got the steak in the fridge, a lot of meat, potatoes, rice, veggies, fruit. These are the things the Lord gave us. If we're getting away from those in season, how can we truly look our kids in the eyes and tell them that we care about their performance? We're stepping over $100 bills to pick up pennies. All right. So guys, food quality is a huge one. Number two is going to be your caloric intake. And I see way too many kids saying, I'm too busy to eat what you want me to eat. Guys, there's a 50-minute school bell schedule at every school here in the Kern High School District. Guess what? That's a built-in alarm clock to go eat your meals. Okay. So my biggest hack for kids maintaining weight in season, weight's really important for maintaining your progress. Okay. We really want to fight hard at hitting our required calories. Okay. I'll teach you in a second how to calculate those. But again, just to recap, the biggest three things that we suck at. Okay. Number one, relying on practice to maintain strength and speed. Number two, switching to high volume bodybuilding workouts in season. Number three, parents not holding their kids accountable to eating quality foods and the proper volumes of foods. Okay, let's get these things right. Now, what good is identifying problems if you don't also come with solutions? That's a big thing that I always urge my coaches. It's like, hey, don't come to me with issues if you also don't have proposed solutions. So guys, let's lead. Here's the first thing you can do to address the first one. Guys, speed's king, right? Even if you play a sport where you don't run in straight lines, there's no change direction, whatever, okay? Maintaining a central nervous system firing at a high rate is going to improve your performance in any sport. So, like, let's face it, top speed, anything is going to improve you, all right? We want to hit top speed activities, sprints, jumps, anything that's going to, again, rev up your central nervous system and manifest all that strength you've been building quickly. That's what's going to keep it athletic. That's ultimately what's going to keep your son or daughter performing at a high level and running away from the competition. Week 10 is usually the most important game of the year. That's like the rivalry game, right? You go straight from there to playoffs. Do you want to be slow at that time? No. So let's do the thing that got us so fast in the first place. If you had a good training program that resulted in speed gains over the off season, we need to hit some top speed things. In application, this does not mean that I go run 10 top speed hill sprints in season. That's not what I'm advocating for. What I am advocating for is literally, we're talking about minimum effective dose, 2 or 3. If you're going to do it twice a week, which is what I would recommend, do them the furthest away from your games. If you play football on Friday nights, I like hitting a top speed workout on Sunday and Wednesday. You will be recovered by Friday. You probably won't even feel bad at all, even the next day. Okay. So think about it. Friday happens. I do a recovery workout Saturday. We do recovery stuff at Grindhouse. I love pool workouts. I love anything that gets your body moving, red blood cells pumping for recovery on Saturday. Sunday, go hit 1 or 2 top speed sprints. Do a great warm-up before. Okay, great warm-up. I'm not saying skip anything. I'm not saying you can't do anything, but again, check your volumes. We're going to hit 1 or 2 top speed sprints, 25, 30 yards, all it takes, like you're running away from the cops. Okay, you do 1 to 2 sprints twice a week. So that's Sunday. Monday, you're probably going to hit a weight room workout. That's the day I would do, again, 2 or 3 heavy reps. You can do 3 sets of 1 set of 3. I don't care. Minimum effective dose. Okay. And then lastly, Tuesday rolls around, probably be in the weight room again. Wednesday's your next day for top speed before Friday. Here's the reason why I like Wednesdays. Your central nervous system stays activated and revved up and lit up like a Christmas tree up to 72 hours after a workout that would provoke that. So if you're going to do a top speed workout and light yourself up, right? You're like, think of like, Fast and Furious. This is like the NOS switch. The NOS stays on for up to 72 hours thereafter. So do I want you doing it the day before? You could. You definitely could. With volumes like that, you could totally get a lot out of it. Okay. But I like 48 hours out because you will still feel the effects of that, like the positive effects of that. No soreness, no nothing. You will feel that on Friday nights. My baseball guys, Robbie Judd just joined, dad of one of the best pitchers in town. Okay. His son trained with us for the last 2 years. And that kid, we had him lifting heavy, low volumes, and high speed activities the day before and sometimes the day of games. And guess what? That kid throws gas. He had some of his best performances throwing all-time best miles per hour doing that stuff because we revved him up like a Christmas tree within the right time frames. Okay. All right. So number one, we got to touch on that stuff. Number two, Darius has another slide for us. Let's teach you a little bit about volumes. This chart, if you have a good performance coach, they all know what this is. This is called Prilepin's chart. It was made by a Soviet, okay, back in like the 60s, 70s. I don't remember. Back when they were murdering us in the Olympics, not 2024, but back when we were learning from them, right? They were on the bleeding edge of sport performance. Prilepin came up with this chart to help manage volumes. And if you notice, it has volume prescriptions in ranges and optimal total numbers per reps based on the intensity of the activity being performed. I know, before someone pipes up in the comments, this was created for Olympic weightlifters, but you can adapt this. A good coach can adapt this to anything, okay? Notice how small those reps per set are for 90% plus work. We talk about max intensity. We're not talking about effort. We're talking about intensity. So we're using 90% plus weights or 90% plus max effort sprints, okay? Now, sprinting is one of the most violent things that we can do. So 7 total top speed max effort sprints is not appropriate in season, okay? I could maybe make a case, but even then, that's not how we train at Grindhouse. I could maybe make a case that would be appropriate in the off season. I would tell you no, stay away from that. But check this out, 1 to 2 reps per set. That you can't do much more when it's that heavy, when it's that intense, okay? The range of reps, if you're going to hit some heavy effort barbell work in season, why would you go over 1 to 2 reps per set? Get in, get out, get even. We're looking to maintain. We call our in-season program at Grindhouse the in-season mitigation protocol. The reason is we're trying to mitigate strength and speed loss to keep our kids firing on all cylinders and safe. Okay, because as you detrain, your brain doesn't keep up with your body. Okay, or vice versa. Okay, it actually vice versa, because your brain still thinks you can do it. The body's not willing. Okay, so if the brain's sending hardcore signals to tap into everything all the time in a game time situation, but the muscles have detrained, the motor units have detrained, what do you think's going to happen? You get muscle tears. You get banged up, you end up on the bench, you end up unavailable because again, you allowed your body to atrophy physically, you allowed maybe your brain to not send those signals as efficiently, right? The highway to send those signals down. If there are cars on a highway, the lanes have been reduced. There's a bottleneck, right? And so ultimately, if you've ever messed with a PC, talking about bottlenecks, the PC crashes or performance is limited, okay? So guys, keep working on that motherboard in season. All right. So again, Prilepin's chart, you can apply this more readily to weight training for sure, but you could also, there's a lesson to be learned as far as like what you're doing in terms of jumping and sprinting. And look at the themes here. As the intensity goes up, the volume comes down. And I definitely want you guys to look at that range of reps on the far right. In season, we're looking to hit the minimum. Reps per set there on the left, we're trying to hit the minimum. So what's better? 2 heavy reps or 1? If it does the job. What's better, 10 heavy reps or 4 if it gets the job done? I would reckon you always want to do the 4. You always want to do the 1. Minimum effective dose. Again, it takes a good coach with decades of experience that knows how to apply the laws of physiology to the athlete in front of them. Okay. And then lastly, biggest solution I can give you. Okay. You need to dial in if you really care. If you really care, because I got kids that are like, I want to gain weight. I want to blah, 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 blah. Okay. What are you ready, willing, and able to do about that? And then they say, well, I don't have time. Well, then you're not 10 out of 10 committed, buddy. You know, The kids I see this from my Liberty High football players. Nothing against Liberty. I'm just saying those are some of the best football players in town. So I hold them to a high standard. A lot of those guys lose 10 to 15 pounds in season. And if you're a defensive end that has to compete with 250, 300-pound offensive linemen every day, that is a travesty. If you're a linebacker who has to hit, man, we got some big running backs in town. You got to meet a 190-pound, 200-pound running back in the hole. You don't want to lose any weight in season. Again, you definitely don't want to do it when you're getting to the most important competitions of the year. Okay? So here's the big deal, guys. To dial in our diet, I strongly recommend that we dial in our calories first and foremost. I like to use multipliers because they're simple. Okay? I like to use multipliers based on your total body weight. This is super easy. Anyone can do it. Go home, step on your scale. Okay? I want you to find your body weight, and we're going to create a calorie goal based on your goal. To maintain weight, you're going to use a multiplier of anywhere from 14 to 16. So multiply your body weight. If you weigh 200 pounds, I'm going to multiply my body weight by, let's say, 15. Okay? That's on the low end. Maybe you ride the bench. You're not super active, right? 15 times 200 pounds. We're going to need 3,000 calories a day to maintain that weight. Okay? If you're on the bigger side of things, you might need more calories. Okay? So if you're like front seven guy, 200 to 300 pounds, to dial in those calories for a big unit like that, okay, let's say 200 times 16, bigger multiplier for a bigger kid, 3,200 calories. Okay? Really easy. Go download MyFitnessPal, plug that in. Okay? And then make sure that you're getting a gram of protein per pound of total body mass. If you're trying to lose weight, lean body mass is fine, but in season, we're trying to maintain, right? So I strongly recommend getting adequate amounts of protein, again, to maintain that horsepower. That's going to be the biggest one for that, all right? Set your carbs to double your body weight and figure out the rest in fat if you really want to go that deep, okay? So calories is number one. But you have to weigh in frequently to make sure that that's working for you. So what I suggest doing, again, 10 weeks is not really that long of time. You can't go backwards for a week. That'll put you a week behind everybody else. If you want to play your best, weigh in every morning after you can take a pee, but before you do anything else, before you eat any food, drink water, whatever, weigh yourself. And we should be maintaining our weight day by day by day. If you see a consistent reduction in weight, I would say 3 to 5 days in a row, we need to go back to the multiplier and add to it. So if I started at 15 and now, hey, I'm losing weight at a 15 multiplier, let's go to 16 for a week, right? And you just keep going up and down based on what it's doing. Guys, hey, I'm an expert coach, but this isn't an exact science, okay? I'd be lying to you. Anybody who says that it is an exact science, they can guarantee you whatever with a certain multiplier or calorie goal, they're idiots, or they're trying to starve you, okay? So we kind of have to use a critical eye with this. Again, the more you weigh, the more data you'll have to make better informed decisions. Okay. The last thing we're going to cover in regards to diet, all right, is we want to, the overall calories are going to be the most important, but we want to choose a multiplier based on how active you are. I already mentioned, kind of hinted at it. If you ride the bench, are you very active in practice? No. This is actually my beef with baseball players because they sit in dugouts all day. And I'm not saying baseball is not hard. I can't play it, okay? But let's face it, who burns more calories, a cross-country runner or a baseball player in practice? Probably the guy that's running miles versus the guy that's, going up to bat a couple times, running a couple foul poles. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just call a spade here. You might have to consider how active you are and be honest with yourself too. You're like, hey, I'm working my butt off every day at practice. I'm like, okay, but do you get in on Friday nights? Or are you a cheerleader for your team? Nothing wrong with that. But if you're cheering on your team on Tuesday, Thursday evenings, or you play for a club team where you never see the court, like, you're not going to need as many calories. Okay. So take all this into account. We got to kind of use our noggins when it comes to this stuff. Otherwise, you might gain too much weight. You might lose too much weight. Okay. Again, we want a starting point, and then the daily weigh-ins are going to tell us if that was appropriate or not, and we have time to fix it. Okay. So just to recap, guys, hey, biggest mess ups I see. All right. Before we bring this thing to a close. Okay. Biggest mess ups we see. Remember, the three biggest ones are going to be relying on practice to keep yourself freaky, Number 2 is switching to high volume bodybuilding. Terrible. Okay. Number 3, not eating more to sustain your activity level and then eating crap food on top of that. Okay. Let's eat like the atomic family. All right. But the 3 biggest things you can do to fix this, mom and dad, coach listening, who cares about your team, athletes at home that, hold yourself responsible for your own performance. Hey, hit 1 or 2, maybe 3 if you're only going to do it once a week. But ideally, twice a week, you would hit top speed 1 or 2 reps. You would hit a top, maybe a pin pull or a max effort isometric in the gym, something like that. A couple reps to maintain, if not continue to build. If you're a part of a sick program like what we have at Grindhouse, our kids hit speed records in week 10. Okay, isn't that what we want? A good coach doesn't just settle for maintenance. They want to keep going up. All right. We want to hit the minimum effective dose to maintain, if not continue to build. Number 2, we want to control volumes. Bodybuilding is a no-go in season. Okay. We want to hit high intensity, low volume activities that translate to sport. And then number 3, we want to dial in our calories, make sure we're hitting a gram per pound of body weight in season, using a multiplier that's appropriate with your goal. The more active you are, the higher your calories are going to need to be. Yes, there are hard gainers out there. There are skinny boys that, hey, you might need 4,000 calories, but, if you think that's tough, I'm just going to ask you how tough it is to not play like you want to play. At the end of the day, hey, let's just be accountable. You can't say you want to be the best and then make excuses for your performance. My baseball players out there, bring lunch into your dugout. My kids playing football that do, they're in 7 periods of class a day. They go to 3-hour practices after. They got homework after that. Who's preventing you from taking a peanut butter and jelly and a protein shake to slam a sandwich, 300 calories, 400 calories at every bell you hear ring during school? The only thing preventing you from that is your discipline. Let's get after it. Okay. Parents. Hey, I know a lot of kids don't like listening to their parents. I hear that one all the time, but maybe you can help them make those sandwiches, right? Maybe we can start with 3 a day, then do that for 2 weeks. They hit it 100%. Now we can up it to 4. Now we can up it to 5, right? Let's do what's best for them. Okay. At the end of the day, it takes a tribe to raise a good athlete and to develop one into something worth talking about. Okay. Guys, I get asked about recruiting all the time. No, I'm going to name drop because I don't like these guys. No NSCA website is going to help your daughter show off something they don't have. Okay. So let's apply our brains, and let's face it, this is the most cost-effective thing you could do, towards being amazing in the kitchen, being amazing in outside training, being consistent with all of the above so that we can take our kids and our teams to new heights. All right, guys, this has been another episode of the Train to Win podcast. As always, you can find me at Blake Bernard Coaching on Instagram. You can find me at Grindhouse_SC. That's the biz. Okay. I am launching a YouTube channel too. First episode goes out this week, and I have to tell you that to hold myself accountable to actually putting it out. So go find me. That's Strength School with Blank Bernard. Okay. School is spelled SKOOL because school is cool. Okay. Guys, tune in. If you have any questions, hit me up at my email. That's blake@grindhousegym.com. I will answer those at next week's Friday morning, 9 a.m. podcast. Every Friday, 9 a.m., same day, same place. Until next time, hail strength.